the Wedge Pattern Indicator, which is offered for various platforms on the TradingFinder website. From this section, you can download the indicator file for MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 platforms and run it on the chart. Additionally, traders can read this page to understand how the indicator works and functions. We select the indicator file from the Navigator section and execute the indicator by dragging the file onto the chart. Once the indicator is placed on the chart, it begins to identify and draw wedge patterns on the price chart. The Wedge Pattern Indicator is a special indicator that identifies classic patterns using zigzag lines and displays them to traders. This allows them to identify trend breakouts and price reversals using these patterns, and to conduct more specialized analyses on the chart. For example, in this section, a descending wedge pattern has been identified using 3 points, the first point at the top, the second point at the bottom, the second movement upwards forming our third point, and the upper line is drawn for us. The fourth point is at the bottom section and is a price correction, where the second line is drawn for us, and finally, the fifth point should be higher than the fourth point and lower than the third point. Here the pattern is formed for us, and after this pattern is broken, we can enter a sell trade in the market. Another example of the same pattern, formed in this section, shows that 3 points are identified for us at the top and 2 points at the bottom. By drawing lines, and after the breakout, we can enter a buy trade. In the settings section, under inputs, there are options available for us, where in the first part we can enable or disable the display of zigzag lines. In the next section, we can set the period for identifying zigzag pivots, which is set to 5 by default here. The more we increase this value, the longer-term pivots are identified and more reliable patterns are recognized, but fewer are displayed. The less we decrease this value, the shorter-term pivots are identified and less reliable patterns are displayed. In the next section, we can determine the style of drawing the zigzag lines, which can be selected in 5 modes: solid, dash, dot, dash dot, and dash dot dot. In the next section, we can choose the color of the zigzag lines and change it to the desired color. We can adjust the size of these lines. In the next section, we can enable or disable the display of wedge patterns, and finally, we can change it to the desired color. Here, I change the pivot period to 10 and adjust the display settings for the zigzag patterns. And finally, I confirm the changes. Here it has drawn the zigzag lines for me. We can see that it has identified patterns. With a longer-term trend, for example, a wedge pattern has been identified here, and after the breakout, we see the price moving downward. Well, friends, we have reached the end of this indicator tutorial. I would be happy if you share your comments and suggestions with us in the comments section.